Hey, what's going on everyone? It's FreakyDude99 and I'm back to deliver a crazy Stasis Hunter build that is sure to catch your eye. With Season of the Witch, Renewal Grasps had a 1.5 year long nerf reverted that over doubled the cooldown of your Duskfield Grenades. With it now back to its original cooldown, it becomes usable once more, and I have to say it works wonders in endgame content like Grandmaster Nightfalls. The amount of damage resist you have stacked at any given time makes this build a must-have for those looking to have an edge in grinding out adept Nightfall weapons. Of course, with all my builds there's a picture at the end along with the dim link in the description for easy copying. Without further ado, let's jump into the build. Starting off with the super, we have Silence and Squall, which happens to be one of the best crowd control supers in the game. It's a super you don't have to time, as the freezing and damage is beneficial in any scenario, as well as the tornado homes in towards enemies. It can also stun all 3 champions with the slows to overloads, shatters to unstoppables, and then the freeze is fast enough to lock barriers out of shielding. It's just an amazing super in any case. And then we're also grabbing Gambler's Dodge, as we can dodge and get our Withering Blade melee back quickly, as well as it has a lower cooldown over Marksman's Dodge. Being able to cause more slows and freezing plus generate more ability energy is also good for our build, so it's just the better way to go here. And then speaking of Withering Blades, it's a good melee that's more for utility than damage. That doesn't mean it can't take down enemies, it just means it's more useful for freezing and slowing enemies. We are using impact induction, so spacing your throws out is ideal as it has a 7-second cooldown between giving ability energy. Since we get a lot of melee energy back with this build, there's no worries on wasting your throws, as we have stasis shards that give it back, as well as our dodge. Moving over to our grenade, we have Duskfield of course, as we are using Renewal Grasps. We can throw it at enemies to slow and freeze them while also reducing their damage by 50%. If we throw it at our feet, then we get a 25% damage resist, plus, since we're next to our stasis crystal, we have Whisper of Chains activate, which gives us 40% more damage resistance. Duskfield Grenades help so much in crowd control, and with this build we can spam throw them so we always have some form of damage resistance active. On over to our first aspect, we have Grim Harvest for the ability to generate stasis shards, as they give us 10% melee energy from the small shards and then 50% from the large shards. We have elemental charge ons for our boots, so we get armor charges from picking up all these shards that we're creating, and then through this we get a ton of charges which we end up using. And then for our second aspect, we have Touch of Winter, which when combined with Renewal Grasps, it makes the stasis crystal large from medium and then increases the bubble size by 75%. It's a must-have for Duskfield and Renewal Grasp builds. Down to the fragments, we start off with Whisper of Shards for 500% additional base grenade regen for 6 seconds after we shatter a crystal. This counts on headstone crystals and our Duskfield grenade crystals, so we pretty much always have this increased regen active. We try and run headstone on our weapons so we can create shards and destroy them instantly to throw more grenades. And then we also have Whisper of Rending, so our primary weapons do 100% increased damage to crystals for easier shatters, and then 50% increased damage to frozen enemies, which we are doing constantly. And then there's Whisper of Durance, so all of our slowing gets an increased duration. This counts for anything that slows, so our super, our melee, grenade, and weapons all benefit from this. Fourth, we have Whisper of Chains, which gives the 40% damage resist while within 10 meters of a frozen enemy or crystal, so throwing a Duskfield at your grenade is a good play if you're sitting back in Grandmasters. And then finally, Whisper of Conduction, so all our stasis shards track towards us while we're within 15 meters of them. In harder content, you really can't go out and chase shards, so having this is a big help. Moving on to the weapons, we have the amazing Wicked Implement as our main weapon of choice. It can slow and freeze on rapid precision hits, and has intrinsic headstone, so Whisper of Shards gets way more use. Whisper of Rending also activates for the extra damage to crystals and frozen targets, and with Wicked Implement it constantly freezes, so we always get that extra damage. As it is a scout rifle, it also benefits from a number of artifact perks like Semi-Auto Striker and Unstoppable Scout Rifle, making it extremely viable for this season. But while it is an amazing weapon, it's not great in every situation. For low to mid content, it requires a fast ad clearing weapon, so that's where a stasis machine gun like Quillam's Terminus or Recurrent Impact come in handy. They can both roll Hitstone and have third column perks that help out with reload speed and ammo regeneration. If you're looking to sub out Wicked Implement, you have options like Raconteur, Horror Story, and Rapacious Appetite, which are all good legendary weapons that you can run in that kinetic slot. We also have Riptide and Deliverance for two very strong Chill Clip fusion rifles that also have unstoppable fusion this season. Chill Clip is still really strong and can take down both Overload and unstoppable champions with ease, so you can take it into most activities without worry. Stasis weapons are in a good spot, but for the most part you'll be using Wicked Implement as it's deadly in most situations and the Freeze and Headstone are too good to pass up. If you're looking to have some fun, then put on Lament, as the healing it gives you while you're in the Duskfield can make for some crazy survivability as well as damage. You can just throw a Duskfield on an enemy, go in with Lament, and then slash them up until Duskfield runs out, which at that point you just throw another Duskfield Grenade. Moving on to the artifact perks, we grab all 5 anti-champion mods from the first column. These give the weapons Overcharge, which is a 25% damage buff in legend and higher activities. For the second row, we grab Origin Perk Specialization 1, so Origin traits from Season of the Witch, Season of the Deep, Lightfall, and Crota's End all get enhanced Origin traits. Their bonuses to stats all get substantial buffs, so it's good to have as we run a lot of the weapons that drop from these types of content. Then for column 3, we grab Origin Perk Specialization 2, so those same weapons from Witch, Deep, Lightfall, and Crota's End all get the 25% overcharged buff. For fourth column, we're always grabbing Elemental Fury for the 35% increased ability damage to stun champions, as well as Semi-Auto Striker, so our rapid precision hits with bows and scout rifles give 2 armor charges. With this, we can use up charges and get them back quickly without having to dive into enemies to collect orbs of power. And then we have Overload Machine Guns, so we can stun champions and get the overcharged buff on our Quillam's Terminus or Recurrent Impact. And then finally for fifth column, we grab Monochromatic Maestro, so stasis weapon damage increases ability damage by 10%, and then ability damage increases stasis weapon damage by 10%. And then lastly, Rapid Fire Rangers, so we apply a 15% weaken on enemies with rapid precision hits, which is just more damage for us. And now for the armor mods. For the helmet, we go ahead and grab 2 Font of Wisdoms for a plus 50 in intellect so we can throw more supers, and then we have a Harmonic Siphon, so every 2 stasis weapon takedowns, we spawn an orb of power. Then for stat focusing, you always want 100 resilience for the 30% damage resist in endgame content, and then next focus discipline so you can throw more Duskfield Grenades, and then finally mobility so we can dodge and throw more Withering Blades. Down to the gauntlets, we have the amazing Renewal Grasps. They make our Duskfield Grenades weaken enemies damage by 50%, while inside, us and our allies get 25% damage resist, and then the bubbles get 75% larger with Touch of Winter also on. Duskfield Grenades become such a powerful tool for us and our allies, and then our ability regen is crazy, so we always have at least 1 Duskfield Grenade on the map at any time. It's an amazing exotic to have on, and it's really great that the nerf finally got reverted. For our mods, we go ahead and grab Grenade Kickstart so we get energy back on grenade throws, more depending on the amount of armor charges that we have when we actually do throw it. And then since we have Semi-Auto Striker, we're always running around with at least 2 armor charges on us, so we never have to worry about that. Then we also have Impact Induction as mentioned before. It gives 20% grenade energy on charged melee hit, and then we have a 7-second cooldown on it, so try not to spam your 2 melee charges all the time. And then finally Bolstering Detonation, which gives 20% dodge energy on grenade hit with the 7-second cooldown. Over to the chest piece, we put on 2 resistances to match the threat modifier for a 25% damage resist. Arc threat calls for double arc resistance, and then you can put on a concussive dampener or just another type of elemental resistance mod. Down to the legs, we get Stasis Weapon Surge for a 10% buff to stasis weapon damage while we have an armor charge. We also grab Elemental Charge, so all the stasis shards that we create, that we collect, also have a chance of giving us armor charges. And then Recuperation, so we have Orbs of Power pickup, give us bursts of healing. And finally for the cloak, we take Bomber and Outreach, so on dodge we get 10% grenade and melee energy back, and then Font of Restoration, so we have a plus 30 in recovery while we have an armor charge. And that does it for the mods. This build has been a blast to take in Grandmaster Nightfalls with its crowd controlling abilities and pseudo support playstyle. You can tank some massive hits while standing in your Duskfield Grenade, as well as standing next to your crystal also stacks that resistance for you. You have near infinite armor charges, meaning you can sit back with Wicked Implement, snipe away enemies, create headstone crystals, destroy them for grenade energy, and just huck Duskfields as much as you want. You have your Withering Blades and your dodges, which will help get your grenade back faster if you're ever missing it, and then destroying the Stasis crystals from headstones also gets you that grenade energy back. So sit back and relax with a very chill build as the Festival of the Lost begins and fall settles in. Of course, if you need a picture, there's one on screen for easy reference, plus a dim link in the description for those who use it. Thank you everybody so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and to leave a comment to help please the almighty algorithm. Also be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, as I can see many of you are just viewers, and if you're already watching, why not subscribe to help the channel out? I've been FreakyDude99, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out everyone.